Welcome to the Toolbox training on how to help students complete their pre-registration checklist. To see this, a student will have to log in to their WYO Records homepage. So first, have the student navigate to the login page from WYO Web by clicking on Students, entering their username and password. And then once a student is on their welcome screen, they want to navigate to the registration page. They can do this by clicking on Registration in the middle of the screen or on Register for Classes under the To-Do items. Once they get to their registration page, they want to click on Prepare for Registration. The pre-registration checklist lives within the Prepare for Registration option in a student's registration homepage. The student will have to select the term in which they're wanting to register and which they're wanting to complete the pre-registration checklist. This page used to be called Registration Status and is still referred to as such on some banner screens, so understand that it might be called Pre-Registration Checklist or Prepare for Registration or Registration Status. The student needs to complete all the checklist items on this screen prior to registration. If a student has not completed the items on this screen, the system will redirect them to this page when they first enter their PERC number to register. So looking at the registration status screen, lots of good information can be found on this page. The student can see their registration date and time. Here we see the student can register from December 8th, starting at 7 a.m. through May 11th, 2018. As we look down through this, any checklist item that doesn't have a green check mark needs to be taken care of. The top one says that the student has a hold which is going to prevent registration. This is something outside of the pre-registration checklist and will be covered in an additional Toolbox training on how to view holds. The next four are checklist items that a student must complete every semester before they register. And so we'll go through these one by one. The first one is to make a health insurance coverage selection. So we can click on the link on that line, and it'll take a student to a page where it talks about the student medical insurance. And it asks the student if they want to purchase student medical insurance. Talk to a student about what sort of medical insurance they may or may not have and whether this may or may not be appropriate for them. There's a link at the top of the page to the student medical insurance website where lots of information can be found. If a student does not want to purchase the medical insurance, they click no. If they do, they can click yes. However, if they click yes, they will be immediately charged for the student medical insurance for that term. So for our purposes, we will click no, and it takes us to a follow-up page. We can always come back in and change our selection before the add drop period. Once the add drop period is over, our selection is final. For a student to get back to the registration status or the pre-registration checklist, we want to click on the link down in the lower left called Registration Status. And that takes us back to our checklist page, and we see that the line item for health insurance coverage has turned green. The next item is the UW Alert cell phone. So we click on the link on that page, and it prompts a student to enter their cell phone number. The UW Alert cell phone program is a program on campus where a student will receive a text message if there's ever an emergency on campus. For example, if campus is closed due to inclement weather, they'll receive a text message to that effect. So have the student enter their cell phone number. In addition to this, there's a wait list box indicating to check this box if the student would like to receive a text message for waitlist course seat availability. This is highly encouraged, otherwise the only notification that a student receives is through their UW email. So we encourage students to check that box and then click Submit. Once a green check mark has displayed at the top of the screen, it's been saved, and a student can use the registration status link in the lower left to return back to the checklist screen. The next checklist item is addresses and phone numbers, emergency contacts, and non-UW email addresses. We click on that line, and it prompts a student to verify that the addresses the university has on file for them are correct. If a student sees these and the addresses are not correct, they can change the address by clicking the link next to the address. Here we see the example of a permanent address. A student would click on the link that says current, and it prompts them to change their address, make any adjustments, and then they can click Submit, will take them back. If the address is correct, a student should click, I verify these addresses and phone numbers are correct, and this will automatically direct them to the next page with the emergency contacts. Again, if a student needs to add a contact or make any changes to a contact, they can click on the link for the line of that contact. If the contact is correct, they can click, I verify this emergency contact information is correct. And that will jump them to the next screen in the process, which is the email addresses. And here it will display any non-UW email addresses that we have on file for them. Please relay to the student that UW will communicate primarily with their student UW email address, and the others won't be used until after their UW email is not active. So a student can verify that these are correct, and it'll automatically redirect them back to the checklist page. The final item is the Student Financial Responsibility Agreement. We can click the link on that line, and it displays the terms and conditions of registration. This is really important information for a student to kind of glance through and read. They can come back and access this and read through it in more detail. It does display installment payment agreement information if a student chooses to do the payment plan. It also outlines when tuition is due by the third Friday of the semester. It's a user agreement between the student and the university, and the student understands that they're financially liable for paying tuition fees and other charges. So the student can scroll down and click that they agree, and it will automatically redirect them back to the checklist. Once all of the checklist items here are green, a student is eligible to register for classes. They can click on the Register for Classes link in the middle of the screen, and it will take them to either enter their PERC number if they've not already done so, or it will take them to their registration page. As an advisor, it's really important to know this checklist process and be able to help students go through the process, especially new students. However, students only go through this once every registration term. And so at the most, a student will go through this process 3 times in a calendar year. And so it's something that they might need to be reminded about, or they might have questions about because they don't do it all the time. And so it's a very helpful thing for an advisor to know. Additionally, the web browser that a student uses to complete this process is critical. Microsoft Edge as well as Safari do not work. A couple of the checklist items will not get cleared if they're done in those web browsers. So we highly encourage the use of Google Chrome or Firefox to get this process completed. We hope that you've enjoyed watching this video, and we hope that it has helped you understand the pre-registration checklist. Thanks for watching.